Welcome to day 18 of our Ghost Host Halloween Countdown for 2025, counting down films that have horror hosts somewhere in them. Yesterday we looked at Night Beast, which had Count Gordeval, aka Dick Dizelle, in one of the roles as the mayor. Fun little monster movie. Independently made, low-budget monster movie. Very ambitious on a shoestring budget, I must say. All right, but that's Don Dohler's movies for you. That's the way he did. All right, this is a good one. This is one of the better films on this entire countdown, and I absolutely love it because of the horror host connection in it. This is Brain Damage. The film opens on an elderly couple freaking out over the loss of something in their apartment. A downstairs neighbor named Brian, played by Rick Herbst, awakens with a sore, bloody spot on the back of his neck. He begins hallucinating and soon after discovers a strange creature named Aylmer.
Hi.
It's a talking, worm-like creature that injects Brian with a blue, hallucinogenic liquid from a stinger in its mouth. Brian immediately wants more of the happy juice. Aylmer agrees, but in exchange asks Brian to take him for a walk. They end up in an auto junkyard where Brian experiences a psychedelic trip. A security guard comes to investigate the noise, and Aylmer attacks and burrows into the guard's head, eating his brain. Brian becomes instantly addicted to Aylmer's juice. The upstairs neighbor are Aylmer's former keepers and desperately want him back, as they too are addicted to the juice. Brian must continue to feed Aylmer in order to get his fix of the psychedelic drug to which he's become a junkie. The creature in this movie is voiced by John Zacherle, better known as TV horror movie host Zacherley. Zach got his start in 1957 hosting Shock Theater in Philadelphia under the name Roland. He hosted films there for 2 years before moving to New York, where he began hosting Zacherley at Large and The Zacherley Show through 1960. He later hosted a Hercules cartoon show in 1963, a Three Stooges show in 1964, and Chiller Theater through 1965, and had a hit record himself called Dinner with Drac. In 1986, one of my favorite Zacherley appearances was released, Horrible Horror, a VHS tape of Zacherley performing many of his old host gags while introducing horror movie trailers. Brain Damage was released in 1988 and directed by Frank Henenlotter, who grew up in New York and a fan of Zacherley. In addition to Brain Damage, he also put Zach in another of his films, Frankenhooker, where he has a brief cameo as a weather reporter, appearing on screen in his horror host attire. Zach appeared in a couple more low-budget pictures throughout the years, but the two Henenlotter films are the best of the bunch. Brain Damage gave him the biggest role, where he really got to show off his amazing voice. It's an inventive and energetic film with a quirky, fun storyline.
Hi, hello Brian, how are you? How are you doing?
Brain Damage, I love this movie. I had the pleasure of introducing this film at the Belcourt Theater in Nashville, Tennessee several years ago at their 12 Hours of Terror Film Festival. I love that it gave me an opportunity to introduce a group, an entire theater full, and it was a packed house full of people, to who John Zacherle was. A few of them out there probably knew him, but a lot of them had no idea, and believe me, they got schooled that night from Dr. Gangrene on who the great John Zacherle is. He is simply the greatest horror host of all time. There's no question about it. He's the best, hands down. I think if you ask most working horror hosts, they would tell you Zacherle's the best. He's the one that set the mold that all the other horror hosts follow. He wasn't the first, but he is absolutely the best. Hands down. I'm not even going to argue it. He's the greatest horror host of all time. The king of the horror hosts. All right, I am going to give Brain Damage 4 skulls. It is amazing movie. I absolutely love that they used John Zacherle, and he was in some other another Henenlotter movie, but this is the one where they really get to use, even though his face doesn't appear, they use that fantastic voice, and Zacherle had an amazing voice, which you get to hear to full effect in Brain Damage. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. 1988 brain damage. Let me know if you guys have seen this one and if you're a fan. Tune in tomorrow night. We'll keep this countdown going. Until then, stay mad.
Hey, of course I'll help you, Brian. You and I are pals. I'll be happy to help you. But you'll have to feed me first.